This one was sent to CornyDriveThru at gmail.com from Ian in Jensen Beach, Florida. Hi, Jim. I often hear you speak of guys such as MJF and FTR of being tape watchers. Obviously, that entails observing footage featuring the greats of yesteryear, but my question is, what makes for a good tape watcher? Obviously, the boys of today will borrow a spot or two from the past, but how would a wrestler of today make the most of tape watching? Let's say my 36-year-old, 5'9", 215-pound fat ass wants to begin a career in the business. And after getting into reasonable shape, I start watching tape. What does a good tape watcher look for? Have there been any instances of tape watchers observing a shitty worker or match to see what not to do? Or does tape watching focus exclusively on studying the how-tos as opposed to the how-nots of the business? Thank you for your time, and please give Harley Quinn a treat and belly rub.
I will do that. Here's the thing. I'm sure some people watch some things for how not to do something. The majority of the time you're watching for how to do something, but it's not just that was the problem with Jericho in Smoky Mountain, was watching Japanese tapes and trying to do the moves. And that was out of place. He needed to be watching old Continental Wrestling to learn how to work the people. Lance Storm picked up on it before Jericho did, because Lance ended up saying that what he learned there was how not to have the match that he wanted, but how to have the match the people wanted, the fans wanted. If you're just watching tapes and stealing cool moves, it goes deeper than that. Sometimes you watch, and I've advised guys in OVW and Ring of Honor to watch different people for different things and to watch out for different things. Sometimes you watch a great match. I tell whoever's watching it, watch the fans and watch what they react to and watch when they come in. And then you go back and you look at what the babyface did to elicit that response. The body language, as Lawler might be starting to bow up on his comeback before he drops the strap, but he gives little signals and the people slowly pick up on it. Or the way that somebody is selling right before they hit a tag to make a comeback or whatever. A lot of times you'll watch tape just specifically because one guy does something so perfectly. And I'm not talking about a move again necessarily, but I'm talking, watch this guy take this turnbuckle. That's it, the perfect way. Watch this guy's footwork. Watch the way this guy pushes off the ropes to do whatever. You can break it down to that minute. You can say, watch this match. This is a 25-minute Ric Flair and Ricky Steamboat match, and it's an excellent example of storytelling and emotion and heat and comeback or whatever. Or you can say, watch this match with, this guy. It's a TV squash match, but the 2 or 3 little things that this guy does, nobody does anymore in the business. So you're watching for different things. You're not just watching to steal moves. You're watching to see how the guy that does that particular thing pretty much better than everybody else in the business, where his feet are and where his hands are and how he poises to do this thing, or you break it down, throwing a punch, throwing a kick, the simple things, but you break it down because there's different ways to do that. And a lot of guys had different, because they're built differently, had different ways of moving, different styles. They would do things different ways. So you'd show a guy, look, here's Dick Murdoch's punch, Bobby Eaton's punch, Jerry Lawler's punch, Terry Funk's punch. They all look good. They're all done a completely different way. Which fits you best? Try them all and see which one works out best for you. We tried to find a lot of Don Leo Jonathan at first for Matt Morgan to watch, a big athletic guy, but then we found that Don Leo Jonathan was 6 inches shorter than Matt Morgan, but he was a lot more agile when it came to, flipping around. So we said steal some of those things, but don't try to steal everything because it doesn't fit you. So that you can't just watch matches, Japanese matches as steel cool moves. And the only thing you retain from it is, oh, okay, I'm going to give the guy a backdrop and my partner's going to come off the top rope and catch him in the balls with a flying headbutt, and not sit there and, okay, now we got to watch this thing 45 fucking times on slow motion and frame by frame to make sure that we're as prepared as possible to try to do something this complicated. And that's what I used to do with a lot of the Midnight Express's stuff, the double team moves, is I would watch matches they were having, seeing the individual things that they did, and then trying to figure out a way to put it together in a double team. Which is why, since Bobby did a great leg drop, well, maybe Stan or Dennis would pick him up in an atomic drop and drop his leg first across the guy's throat, and it's a double team, but Bobby's doing all the work, or whatever the case. Is that any kind of an explanation? You got to watch tape, but you don't watch it for entertainment and just to steal a snazzy move. You watch it like the New York Mets will watch game footage and try to slow down and analyze the home run hitter's swing so everybody can do it like that.
What wrestlers, if any, impressed you in OVW embracing this? Doing it when they didn't have to, coming to you with questions or notes. Anyone?
Oh God. Yeah, but most of the guys, I mean, everybody was always asking something or taking notes or wanting, when I would give out, more of the books or the history things on paper, or, Danny Davis had tons of different VHS tapes back when that was the thing. Here's old Mid-Atlantic, or here's old Ric Flair, or here's old somebody, or whatever, just different genres. But I mean, guys were asking all the time. We wanted them to. So I hate to single anybody out. Mike Mondo was an excellent student. He questioned everything, and that's why his Twitter account is now better than any wrestling school in the country. But the guys who were motivated, you had the Carlitos that came in that, son of the star, and they were just biding their time till they go to the main roster. They're not supposed to be in developmental. And they didn't ask many questions, but the guys that were especially starting from scratch, Mark Henry was a sponge with shit because he enjoyed the history and hearing about these personalities. And Mark was interested because Terry Todd, who was not only a strong man and weightlifter in his day, but also a trainer and was huge in the strength world, was from Texas. And Mark had known him, but he didn't necessarily know that Terry Todd had a background with other pro wrestlers going back 40 years. He's showing the pictures of the magazines. He loved that shit. So it just, you try to also, you don't want to be telling, when the Big Show was here, we're not going to show him Tiger Mask tapes. Yeah, work on that fucking drop kick off the top. But you would explain the rules of thumb for a giant working like a big man, how to register, how to sell, when to ever go down, when not to. Here's the way other guys did it. Watch Andre, watch fucking Stud, watch whoever's been, a giant in the past or whatever, and then try to make shit your own.
When it comes to the big four that people think of with OVW, Cena, Orton, Lesnar, and Batista, did they embrace it? I can't see Brock Lesnar really not blowing this off. But Randy Orton, who was young and may have had a different attitude then than he has now, and also grew up around the business.
Well, Orton didn't mind watching wrestling tapes because, goddamn, his dad was probably in some of them, and that's why he grew up watching wrestling tapes. I don't know that he was necessarily, the fucking greatest student in the world with making notes and doing homework and paperwork and etc. But he didn't mind watching wrestling tapes. But Cena was of those four, Cena was the best student. Orton may have seen a lot of that. Orton probably knew half the guys we were showing him tape of through his dad from meeting him when he was a kid or whatever. But Cena, from going from scratch and not having a background in the business, was the best student at watching different tapes, retaining information, making notes, studying, whatever. Go ahead.
So the gimmick that Batista had in OVW, Leviathan.
Yes.
What tapes would you have given him to help him? Because at that time, you didn't know how WWE was going to... Oh, okay.
No, well, I mean, he watched. We gave all the guys tapes of everything to watch because you can pick up, something from anything. But there was really nobody like Leviathan before. That's why I wanted to do something different. And I'm not going to try to go into a long story, and I've told it before, but I'm looking at what I got. He's already past 30. He's injury prone. He was here for 6 weeks and he tore a bicep, was out for 3 months with surgery. He'd had extremely limited training before he came here. They ran him off from the power plant and the Samoans had taught him how to write a check. I've got a short window of time. He's got to be a gimmick. He's not going to be starting in the preliminaries. He's not going to be out there doing promos like a normal human being. Look at the fucking tattoos and look at the look of him. Let's go with that and let's build an opponent for Undertaker, Big Show, Kane, the Monster Movie crew, and let's see if we can get 5 years out of this fucking guy. He didn't know anything about wrestling on the inside. He had watched it on TV before, but he had limited knowledge even of that and the way that things worked. He was not a fireball personality nor a go-getter. He sat over in a corner, minded his own business, and waited to be told what to do with his hoodie on because he was always cold. He was a very cold demon. And that was when I booked him with Kane, I set him in front of Glenn. I said, Glenn has come in here to do the same thing for you that Undertaker came into Knoxville to do for him. So tell him what you do. Oh, I'll do anything. No, tell him what you do. And I'd sit there, but I had to make him more assertive. Tell him you got a great spear and you got the full Nelson slam. Leviathan at 6'6" or whatever he was easily 330 in those days because he was roided to the gills. All the tattoos, the chain around his neck, the brief tights and that body. He had like 5 moves. He could do a great spear and he could do a great full Nelson slam and he could fucking look like a movie monster. And we built everything around that. And he didn't really need to learn how to do drop kicks off the top rope because he wasn't going to be doing those to begin with. But what we tried to do was teach him how to mentally and psychologically get over in his matches, how to be dominant physically, how to be an invulnerable monster, how then to, when he's a babyface, sell through nefarious tactics, but not sell like just a fucking junior heavyweight like Ricky Morton. Keep the matches quick. He almost never loses, and when he does, it's major controversy. That kind of guy gets over. And Leviathan, for the time he was here in OVW, was, I won't say he was the most beloved or the most popular. That would be a guy like Dinsmore or, one of the good-looking kids like Jeter or whatever, but he was the most over talent we ever had because he was never beaten until the end when it was time for him to move on. He always won one way or the other. He sold nothing. And he got over as a heel to the point where the people started cheering for him and we switched him babyface. It was the perfect example of how to create a movie monster gimmick and take a guy who's limited not only in terms of his talent, but in terms of the window of opportunity he has for being in this business and smashing him over. And the people fucking loved him. And then they took him up there and made him Devon's fucking flunky and carrying a box around his neck and covered up his body. And that didn't work. And he was about to be fired and started working out with Triple H. And they said, hey, why don't we uncover the body? They made him a normal human, but they put him in their group where they could hide him and he could do all the shit that he had learned how to do as an unstoppable, invulnerable monster who sold nothing and had tremendous athleticism for a guy that size.